Hello everyone, my name is Ravi Singh. I'll be taking physics for DMLT and paramedical courses. So in this session, we'll be studying the chapter 6 of physics, that is geometrical optics. So this is part 5 of the video lecture. So part 1 to 4 of this chapter has been already covered. It is there in the playlist, you can watch it. So let us begin with the class. So define microscope, describe the types of microscope and the uses and the application of microscope in the science. So let us discuss one by one. So let us learn the meaning of microscope. Here microscope is an instrument that is used to produce the enlarged image of a small object. You can say the small object can be seen in an enlarged form. The small object can be seen in the enlarged form by the instrument known as microscope. Here microscope allows us to see the tiny objects. Okay, next one. The microscope may provide the dynamic image. Okay, the resolution quality of the microscope is a measure of the smallest detail of the object. That is, higher the resolution, more with the quality. If the resolution of a microscope is higher, we can see the tiny details. You can say the more detail of the object can be seen. Okay, next one. Before that, the resolution is expressed in terms of linear units and usually in terms of micrometer. Here resolution will be in micrometer. Okay, see, let us move on to the next one, that is types of microscope. In this we will study the 4 types of microscope. The first one is simple microscope. Here simple microscope is a microscope that is here it is only single lens is used to generate the image. In simple microscope, only single lens is used to generate the fine image. The traditional simple microscope was made with a magnifying lens, was made with a single magnifying lens, which is often sufficient for optical quality to allow the study of microscopic organisms such as Hydra and Protista. Here the study of Hydra and Protista can be done by simple microscope. Here the most common feature of simple microscope is the single lens is used here to make the simple microscope. Let us move to the next one. The next one is compound microscope. Here compound microscope means here the limitation of the limitation in terms of we can say limitation in terms of resolution can be overcome by the compound microscope. The limitations of the simple microscope in terms of resolution can be overcome by the compound microscope. That means we can see the more finer than the we can see the more finer in compound microscope than simple microscope. That is, here the microscope of compound microscope is better than the simple microscope in terms of resolution. Here the resolution of compound microscope is more. Okay, next one. It can be used to form real image. It is used to form the real image of the focal plane in second lens of an eyepiece or ocular. So this is about the compound microscope. Let us move on to the next one. Next one is the third one, that is electron microscope. Here in electron microscope, instead of light, here the electron is used as a source for producing the image. Here it is a microscope that instead of light, it uses electron to produce the image. Moreover, the microscope enhance the image of viruses, proteins, lipids, ribosomes, even small molecules. Here this electron microscope it produces the finest quality of image. That is, it is, we can say in terms of quality of image, we can say it is better than simple microscope as well as compound microscope, because in compound microscope you cannot enlarge the viruses and proteins. So only it is done by compound microscope. That is, the images of viruses, protein, lipid, ribosomes, even the smallest molecule can be enlarged in electron microscope. So it is, we can say, in terms of resolution quality, it is better than the simple as well as compound microscope. So let us move on to the next one. And one more thing about electron microscope is electron microscope produces it uses electron to produce the image. This point is important. It produces images by the use of electron. That is the reason why it is called as electron microscope. Next one is fluorescent microscope, fluorescence microscope. The fourth one is fluorescence microscope. Here this is a microscope. It uses ultraviolet light. It uses ultraviolet light to illuminate the specimen. The specimen in the sense of the object to be illuminated, or you can say object to be observed in detail. Here, the scope of it is a microscope. Ultraviolet light is used to illuminate the specimen that fluorescence. Beside the most of the fluorescent antibody or dye is added to view the specimen. Here, only important thing in this is uh, fluorescence is used to observe the specimen. Here, ultraviolet is used to illuminate this specimen. Here, ultraviolet light is used. Okay. Next one, the uses and application of fluorescence. Uses and application of microscope. Here, microscope is used in many variety of scientific field, that is in forensic, in traditional medical science, and microscope is also indispensable instrument. That is, no work is done in microbiology without the use of microscopes. So let us move on to the next one. That is applications. It is used in tissue analysis. It is used in tissue analysis and forensic evidence, determine the health of the ecosystem, studying the atomic structure. So these are some of the applications of microscope. Let us study one by one in detail. In tissue analysis, it is common, that is the use of microscope is common in for the histologist. Histologist means those who study the cells and tissues. We can say study of tissue is called histology. Okay, it is common for histologists to study the cells and tissue for using microscope. For example, if the section of tissue is taken for analysis, the histologist can use microscope in the combination with other tools to determine the simple if the sample is cancerous or not. Whether they'll take some part of the body, that is they'll take particular tissue, or you can say tumor, they'll analyze it and observe it in details whether it is cancerous or not. This can be analyzed by with the help of microscope. So that is the reason why it is used in tissue analysis. Let us move to the next application, that is examining forensic evidence. Examining forensic evidence means evidence collected from crime scene. The evidence collected from the crime scene may contain information that is not visible to the naked eye. For example, they'll take the hair stand and observe the DNA, what kind of DNA and which type of DNA is used, which type of DNA is there and whose DNA is there, can be examined by by using the observing the detailed structure and studying the detailed structure of this hair stand, or semen or other things can be observed in the forensic lab. So this is used in microscope, is used in examining the forensic evidence. Next one, third one, determine the health of an ecosystem. Determine the health of ecosystem. That is, it is common in the field of biologists to monitor the health, in particularly in ecosystems such as stream, by using microscope to identify the numbers and diversity of organisms in a particular region. By using microscope, we can measure the number of organisms and diversity in the particular region over a period of time. So last one is fourth one is studying atomic structure. Studying atomic structure means the powerful microscope such as atomic force microscope is have added in the study of surface of the individual atom. Here the surface of individual atom can be studied with the help of atomic force microscope. So these are the applications of microscope. Let us move on to the next question. So let us move on to the next question. That is 20th question says, source of light. Explain the source of light. So let us discuss this question. So there are many, you can say countless sources of light in the universe. So let broadly categorized into two types. The source of light is divided into two types. That is, first one is natural source and second one is artificial sources. So these are the two sources of it is this light can be categorized into two types, that is natural sources and artificial source. So let us read one by one. First one, we will read about natural sources of light. So let us discuss the natural source of light. Here we can say the sun is the natural source of light for earth as well as other planets. Okay, so we'll draw the diagram of sun. So this is our sun, and many planet will be in series, or you can say many planets are in series, or revolve around in an optical manner around the sun. Okay, let us draw the diagram of sun. Okay, so this is the sun, which provides a natural source of light for all the planets around us. Okay, so it is a massive ball. What made the sun to give the light to all the planets, and what made what is the reason behind it so that it provides light? The main reason is here inside sun, hydrogen is converted into helium. When hydrogen is converted into heavy atom, that is helium, the energy changes will take place. Okay, when the energy changes take place, it emits light, emits energy in the form of light. Okay, so this process is exactly happening in sun. Okay, next one, other stars produces light too, but only a small or no amount of light reaches to the earth, because they are very at a huge distance. So only some we can say the small amount of light reaches the earth because of they are very far from earth. It regards to the stars, other stars. So sun, we can consider that sun is also star. Okay, so next one, moon provides a light as well as moons provide light as well, but they cannot produce on their own. So so moon is not a source of light. It's just a reflection. For example, let us take a diagram of moon. When the sun ray hits the moon, it reflects, and for example, the earth is over here and the moon is over here. Okay, the why we see moon is visible, why moon is visible to us, because it is not a source of light. It is a reflection. It simply reflects the light. So light falls on the moon, and the reflection of moon can be seen on the earth. So moon is basically not a source of light, as it cannot produce the its own light. Okay, light we get from this the moon is reflection from the sun. Okay, some living organisms have ability to produce light too, that is called bioluminescence. So some organisms produce the light because of some chemical changes will take place in their in their body. For example, fireflies, jellyfish, glowworm, and certain deep sea plants and microorganisms are some of the example of this, and these are called bioluminescence. These are called bioluminescence. So these are the example of some natural source. One more natural source is lightning and volcano eruption, and also these are the some of the natural source of light. So let us repeat once again. So natural sources are sun is a natural source. Sun is a natural source for us, and some other stars are there. Stars are also natural source of light, but some stars, they are very far from Earth. So as some, or you can say negligible amount of light will reach the Earth. And the next one is moon. Moon is basically not a source of light. Moon is, we can see the moon because of reflection of light. Okay, and the next one is some organism have ability to shine, or you can say glow, because of the chemical reaction is happening inside the organism. Some of the examples are fireflies, jellyfish, glowworm, and certain deep sea plants and organisms are some of these examples. And the last one is the natural sources, lightning and volcanoes are the some of the natural sources of light. So let us move on to the next one, that is artificial sources of light. Okay, artificial sources of light are broadly categorized into three types. The first one is incandescent source, and the second one is luminescent source, and the third one is gas discharge source. So let us discuss one by one in detail. So first one is incandescent source. When certain object is heated at high temperature, they tend to emit. They emit the light. Both infrared as well as visible light is produced in this process, for such as in candles and incandescent lamps. So these are the two examples of uh, incandescent source. Incandescent source are candle and incandescent lamp. So what will happen in candle as well as incandescent lamp is, when they are heated, they acquire heat. Because of high heat, they begin to emit light. So because and that light will be in the form of infrared as well as visible light, in the form of visible light. So these are the two examples. So that is candle and incandescent bulb lamp are the two examples of incandescent incandescent sources. Next one is luminant source, or you can say luminescent source. Light can be produced by accelerating charges in luminescent material. One common way of doing this is passing the current through the material. When we pass current through the material, the accelerating charge will be moved across it, and the luminous across the luminant material, and resulting in the production of light. So for example of luminescent light is fluorescent tube light and electric bulb. These are the examples of luminescent sources. Next one is gas discharge sources. Okay, so let us discuss gas discharge source. Passing electricity through the gases at a very low pressure can produce light too. So some of the example for this is neon lamp and sodium lamp. Okay, and next one is luminous and a non-luminous object. Luminous objects are visible as they emit light, because sun, for example, sun is a luminous object. It produces light of their own. Okay, but not a moon. Okay, and the non-luminous objects are visible because of luminous object. For example, sun is a luminous body. Sun is a luminous body, whereas other planets are not, because see, only sun has a capacity to emit light, not other planets. For example, other planets as well as satellites. For example, if you take a satellite, natural satellite, that is moon, it does not have any particular, it does not have any light source. So it simply reflects the light which falls on it. So these are the some of the examples of and applications of sources of light. Let us move on to the next one, that is luminous body. Next one is luminous body. So let us discuss about luminous body. Here, luminous body is nothing but those body which emits their own light is called luminous body. For example, sun is a luminous body because it emits light, whereas non-luminous, for example, moon does not have any source of light, its own source of light, so it simply reflects. So moon is a non-luminous body, whereas sun is a luminous body. So this is the example of luminous and non-luminous body. So next one is sun is an example. Next one is why sun emits light, because hydrogen inside sun, hydrogen is converted to helium, in the process of which it emits energy in the form of light, that is called electromagnetic wave, that is light. Next one, it requires, okay, that's it. So these are the some of the source, that is stars, light bulb, and sun are some of the luminous bodies. So let us move on to the next one, that is color of the object. Let us discuss about color of the object. Here, color of the object is because of wavelength of the light. For example, yellow color is there, yellow, red is there, red, green is there. These are the color because of wavelength. They have all different wavelength. Okay, green is having some wavelength, red color is having some wavelength, and yellow color is having some wavelength. Because of particular wavelength, they have particular color. Because of that reason, they have we can see, we are able to see the different colors. It is this is determine the arrangement of electron in the atom of the substance that will absorb and re-emit the photon in a particular energy. For example, why we are able to see the green color? Because this object, for example, this is the object which is having green color. Okay, why we are able to see the green color? Because light falls on this. Okay, it will absorb all the colors, and it will only emit a particular wavelength. That particular wavelength is called wavelength will fall in the category of green. So we are able to see the green color. Okay, next one is emission. Emission is nothing but heated object emits wavelength as per the temperature. So this is called emission. Next one is interference. Interference is nothing but it can be seen in oil films on water and the soap bulbs. Okay, when the oil spills on the water, we can see the multiple colors, right? That is called interference. Next one is fluorescence. Fluorescence means it occurs when the substance absorbs wavelength from the light that illuminates them, and in turn emits a wavelength produces other colors. This is called fluorescence. So this is the complete information about the colors. So let us move on to the next one, that is uses of convex mirror. So let us see some of the uses of convex mirror. Here convex mirror is used in it's inside the building, in vehicles, magnifying glass, and security purposes. So these are the places where the convex mirror is used. So let us discuss one by one. So inside the building, that is convex mirror is used in inside the building. In large offices, stores, and hospitals, the use of convex mirror is very common. Okay, they can avoid running into each other and prevent the collision. And this convex, one of the other advantage of convex mirror is it covers a wide area. For example, this is the convex mirror. So it covers wide area compared to it it covers this much area as compared to the concave mirror. The concave mirror covers only less amount of area. For example, if you close this, so only this much. So whereas concave mirror, whereas convex mirror, the area of coverage is more in convex mirror rather than concave mirror. That is the reason why it is used in inside the building as well as outside the building. Okay, next one is convex mirror used in vehicles. Again, convex mirror is widely used in rear view of the mirror, that is in automobiles, vehicles, because it can divert the light beam and make virtual objects. So again, the same thing. One more reason behind this is, again, it covers wide area. In rear view of the vehicle, it covers a wide area, and it give that is the reason why it is used in automobiles and vehicles. Okay, next one. And next one, the third one is the use of convex mirror in magnifying glass. Okay, this convex mirror is widely used in magnifying glasses, that is to see the tiny object in enlarged form, that is in magnifying glass. Okay, in order to make the magnifying glass, two convex mirror are placed back to back. For example, like this, it will be magnifying glass will be there, and one more stick will be attached to it, like this. This will be the magnifying glass. Okay, like this, there will be magnifying glass which is used to see the tiny object in an enlarged form. Next one, that is convex mirror is used for security purposes. That is convex mirror is used in security purposes, that is in various places such as near ATM, so that bank customer can check someone if someone is behind it. So in bank customers also, in bank also convex mirror is used. Okay, let us move on to the next question, that is prism. Let us move on to the next one, that is prism. So let us discuss about prism. Here prism is a transparent refractive device that is bounded by 5 plane surfaces inclined at some angle. So this is about prism, and it bends the light in 2 times. So and emergent ray is at the angle to the incident ray. Okay, that is, let us discuss the prism. So consider this is a prism. Okay, prism is a transparent refractive index. For example, a monochromatic light falls on this. Okay, it's split into many color. So let us not bother about that splitting of light. So let us take only single color. For example, this is a light. Okay, so it bends. It bent two times. That is, okay, first will it will bend here, and then again it will bend. So always angle of incident will be always equal to angle of emergent. That is, incident here it is there given, emergent ray is an at an angle of incident ray. So this is the phenomena of prism, and it is having 5 plane surfaces inclined at some angle. So these are this is about prism. So let us move on to the next one. Snell's law. Let us discuss about Snell's law. So let us define Snell's law. Here Snell's law is defined as the ratio of sine of angle of incident to the sine of angle of refraction is called as Snell's law. That is sin I by sin r. Here it is they have given sin I by sin r is equal to constant, that is n. Here you can say mu or you can say n. N is nothing but refractive index. This is constant, that is refractive index. So this is the Snell's law. Again, well, let's once again define this. Snell's law is defined as the ratio of sine of angle of incident to the sine of angle of refraction is always constant, and that constant is called as refractive index. Here, refractive index is, you know, it is uh, it is called a refractive index of second medium with respect to first medium. The refractive index of second medium with respect to first medium is called the refractive index. So this is the formula, as you can see here from this diagram. You can notice. So this is another medium, as you can consider this as air. Air is having refractive index N2, and this is, for example, you can take water, and this is having refractive index N1. If a light ray, uh, here they have given, here the light ray is entering from water to the air. Here it is having particular angle theta 1. Okay, when the light emerges from denser medium to the rarer medium, it deviates from the original path. That is, the angle of incident will be more compared to the water. So here the Snell's law can be given as n1 sin theta 1 is equal to n2 sin theta 1. This is the law of Snell's law. So let us discuss the application of Snell's law. Okay, Snell's law has a wide range of application in physics, especially in branch of optics. Okay, it is used in optical apparatus such as eyeglass. It is used in this Snell's law is used in eyeglass, or you can say contact lens, cameras, and rainbow. This Snell's law is used. So this is the application of Snell's law. So let us move on to the next one, that is focus point. So let us discuss about focus point. So to understand this focus, let us take some concave, or you can say convex lens. First, I'll take convex lens. So this is convex lens. So here a parallel ray of light is entering, or you can say passing through this lens. Okay, when these parallel ray passing through this, these all ray will reach at a particular point. This particular point is called focal point, or you can say focus point. So this point is called focus point. This point is called focus point. Okay, at this focus point, all the parallel ray will converge in in this convex lens. Let us take concave lens. This is concave lens. So let us consider. Let us consider. We'll take convex mirror, so it will be easy for us to understand. So this is the mirror. When the light falls when the light when a parallel ray of light falls on the concave mirror, okay, when the light falls on a concave mirror, all this parallel ray converge at a particular point, and that particular point is called focus. And in concave mirror, this is the focus. This is the focus point of a concave mirror. So we can say that when all the ray meets at a particular point, that particular point is called focus point. So this is the complete information about the focus point. Let us move on to the next one, that is magnifying glass. Okay, a magnifying glass a magnifying glass is a convex lens that is used to produce the magnified image. For example, what is the use of magnifying lens? We can see the tiny object in enlarged form. It is called that is the use of magnifying glass. Here in magnifying glass, two convex lenses are used. Two convex lenses are used. It will be like this. Okay, and this will be handle. This is the handle. Okay, this looks like a mirror. So this is basically a you can say magnifying glass. This is the handle to hold this. I think this diagram is okay. And this is the somewhat this is magnifying glass. Just leave it. Okay, and let us move on to the next one. That is lens is usually mounted on a frame of handle, and this magnifying glass is used to focus the light. It is also used to focus the light, such as to concentrate the sun radiation to create the hot spot at a focus to fire starting. We can say this magnifying glass is also used. Let us consider like this. So let us take this as a magnifying glass, or you can say magnifying glass. Yes, when the parallel ray of light pass through this magnifying glass, they all meet at a particular point that is called focus point. At this focus point, when you convert this parallel ray of sunlight at this focus point, as we can, this will be very high intensity of light will be formed at this particular point, and this can catch even fire and it has ability to burn fire. Okay, now let us move on to the next one, that is dispersion. Okay, let us discuss about dispersion. So this is the phenomenon of dispersion. Okay, so this is glass prism. This triangular shape is called a glass prism. When a monochromatic light, or you can say this is polychromatic light, right? You can simply consider it as a white light. When the white light is passed through a prism, it's printed to its constant color. That is Vibgyor. We can say Vibgyor. Vibgyor. That is violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. These are the colors which the white light is split. White light will be split into seven band of colors. You can say Vibgyor. Okay, the most deviated the color is violet, and the least deviated color is red. This is very important point. Okay, they'll ask in examination which is the most deviated color, that is most deviated light, that is violet is the most deviated one, and the least deviated is the red one. Red one is the least deviated, as you can see from this prism. Once again, we'll read the definition of this uh, uh, dispersion. When a white light is split into constant color when it falls on the prism, or you can say glass prism. Or you can say, you can write also like light like this. Splitting of white light into its constant color is called dispersion. I'll write over here. Splitting of white light into its constituent color is called dispersion. Constituent colors is called dispersion, and the most deviated is violet and the least deviated is red. This is the complete information about the dispersion. Let us move on to the next one, that is autorefractor. Autorefractometer uses. So let us discuss the autorefractometer uses. Here it is used to measure the degree of refractive error in eye. Yeah, it is used in it is used for degree of refractive error in eye, and also it is well suited for well suited towards the applications such as differentiating corneal and lenticular abbreviations, and assessing the pre and post refractive surgery of patients. So this is the complete information about the question number 29, that is autorefractor uses. So this is the end of the class. If you have any doubts, you can comment in the comment section. Thank you.